Kyrie School. Our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Well, we have the agenda before us. Is there any questions, discussion, changes? Right, well, the board would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
And I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Mr. Peterson, do we have delegation?
We do have a delegation. And the board, first off, I want to say to the board and to everybody here, this literally is the first board meeting we've had without masks for almost exactly 2 years today. For anybody who's associated with the school district, you'll remember last year or 2 years ago, March 14th was actually professional day in the district. We didn't have school. The day before, the last day we had school was Thursday the 13th, and it was Monday the 16th that, well, that's when the announcement came. So other than Zoom meetings, and I don't count Zoom meetings. So anyway, I'm just glad to see a lot of people here, even though 95% of you have to be here, but that's okay. So I do have a delegation though. This is something positive though from our governor, a proclamation. So just so people know the background on this, March 14th today through the 18th this week is Education Support Professionals Week. And so I've got a proclamation from Governor Inslee. Whereas education support professionals are involved in nearly every aspect of education, maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, assisting in the classroom, providing over 60% of all instructional hours in special education, English language learners, and opportunity gap students, performing and conducting research activities, providing information technology and media services, administrative support functions and safe transportation, creating a secure and healthy environment, and many other specialized services. And whereas more than 62,000 education support professionals work with and help students in Washington's universities, colleges, and public schools are the backbone of our public education system and deserve recognition and thanks for the outstanding work they do for this state and their communities. And whereas education support professionals are instrumental in fulfilling the state's responsibility to educate all students by supporting the learning environment, they serve as crucial partners with teachers, parents, administrators, and school boards. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the state of Washington, do hereby proclaim March 14th through the 18th, 2022 as Education Support Professionals Week in Washington. And I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Signed, Governor Jay Inslee. So thank you to all the education support professionals that are, some of whom are here and many of whom, well, I assume there's some watching, but there's also a lot that are just going to find out about it when we give them goodies. So that's perfectly okay, but many thanks to them.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you to our professionals. All right, we'll move on to the proposed consent agenda. Do we have any discussion, comments, questions?
Say thank you again for these descriptions. They're super helpful to the public. Appreciate that.
Well, Chair would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. We'll move on to our most important part of the meeting, Public comment. Any contributions?
I've got one electronic. I'm just waiting to see if there's anything out there. Give them the courtesy.
Okay, looks like no stepping forward.
Yeah, okay. So this is via email from our employee Shirley Myron. The subject matter is microwaves in the lunchroom, and it states Kylie would like to get an update on microwaves at the board meeting this evening. And with the board's permission, I will add that to my asset inventory discussion, since those are assets that we would need to inventory. It's a stretch if you didn't notice, but so anyway, yes, Kylie, we will be giving you an update shortly, okay?
Okay, well then we'll move directly to our director's reports. Starting with Mr. Denbor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for allowing me to be here tonight. Not a whole lot to go through, but first thing we have is our next high school concert will be Friday, March 25th. So they thinking about some different days and decided to go with a Friday here and see if that's a really good idea or maybe not the greatest idea. So we'll find out, but they want to give it a shot, and so we're all supportive of that, trying to make that happen. Spring numbers, we started sports 2 weeks ago to the day. We have 2 baseball teams, 2 softball teams, and we have 22 softball players. So we're going to try to make it work, type of thing. Everybody's been passionate about coming out and making all the practices and everything. So it'd be good to have games for everybody to be able to play. So hunting JV games right now to try to give them a full 20 game schedule, and shouldn't be too difficult with other teams in the area to be able to provide that. So track, we have about 35 kids out, which we have a few more boys and girls, but it's pretty darn close to being equal there. And then for boys soccer, we have about 15 that have been showing up every single day. We have a few more than that, a couple of grade issues type of thing, but we'll have one solid team for boys soccer, which is good after not having it last year. So the numbers are back out there. And then tennis, we're in the mid to high 20s there. So we'll have quite a few kids out for that. And so coach does a good job of recruiting kids, and part of his job there, and be able to talk them into it. So that's a pretty dang close. Also, it's like 12 girls and 13 boys, so really equal on the boys and girls numbers there. I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but I know I sent Pete, who I assume sent you the information about the rebranding that we finished up, and so got those documents out, and staff's happy about that, being able to use the new stuff there, and we got some staff that's already after it, and some other coaches and stuff that'll be using it as it becomes more appropriate to do that. Today I met with Secord Strength down at local business there, right next to the coffee stand, and kind of new business in town, and trying to work with them on, especially the athletic side, trying to get bigger, faster, stronger athletes. And they're excited to be a part of our community and want to help out any way they can and build a relationship with the high school. And I think we could, they would like to work with us. We'd like to partner with them, and very knowledgeable and want to help out with kids. And basically they said, we just want to make a difference in kids' lives. And especially with COVID, a lot of sitting around, that sort of stuff, they're ready to get them back at it and moving around and being excited about it. And I know it's a group of about 5th grade kiddos, some 4th, 6th grade along with that, but they go down there twice a week and itching to go back every single time and enjoy it. And so it's exciting to have that kind of commitment by people. So we're trying to get our middle school, our high school, our parents, understanding the importance of working out in the off season, getting ready to go for the season. Sports shouldn't start, for the 3 months that you play it, but, getting bigger, faster, stronger in the off season as well. And then sent out a youth survey to, I know 5 for sure youth sports programs that we have, and then any others that come along, just trying to gather more feedback of what they're looking for. How can we more assist each other? How can we streamline youth sports from middle school to high school, all working together? And so getting some valuable feedback from them. And I'm going to share that with the other admin once I got 4 of the 5, so just waiting for one more there. So any questions or comments or anything? All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Castillo, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'll start with, like I always do, with my, all my precious littles. So the ECAP program, even though we lost one kiddo in February, happy to report that we're able to recruit another precious little, so we're back up to full capacity as of this Thursday coming up. So we're happy about that we can maintain that as well. Safety security program, we continue to stay in compliance with our security program. We just completed our 2 classroom portions of the new CERT member training in January. And then our 3rd and final portion of the training, which is the field portion of the training, will take place this Friday, the 18th. And then we continue our partnership with Benton County Sheriff's Office, and it continues to be a strong partnership. They're great. They're great to work with. We've already started talks about fall training. Hopefully we can get one in August if we're able to coordinate that. And it'll be focused around active shooters, school safety and security. So we're happy about that. 21st Century After School Program, our enrollment's up from 45 in January. We're currently at 68, and we have 11 kiddos on the waiting list. So, excuse me, our site coordinator is conducting interviews for an additional facilitator so that we can serve more of our kids after school. So we're hoping to bump it up to 3 classrooms after school. So that's great news. We got currently 5 adult staff with 2 high school and 2 middle school volunteer tutors that go down and help us out. The program's planning a family engagement event on Saturday, March 26th from noon to 1:30 down at our NPR. So if you are available, you're welcome to stop in. Our next one after that, we're planning to do it at Mid-Columbia Library, but I don't have the details of that yet. I'll keep you updated on that. So on average, we've had about 10 to 12 families participate in our past events. I'm thinking with spring coming and maybe the relaxing of some of the regulations, I think we might get some more participation. So that's what we're all for. McKinney-Vento homeless program, I hadn't updated you guys previously, so I figured I would quickly update you on that. So McKinney-Vento is what's called the homeless program. And then there are other ways that we help families in need in our district. We currently have 16 students that are enrolled in our McKinney-Vento program, 6 of which are considered unaccompanied. And fortunately, that's a lower enrollment. In this kind of program, we want lower enrollment. So in the past, we've had upwards of 40 kiddos, which is, those are hard times. So lower enrollment, which is good. And they qualify. It's a wide range of reasons why children would qualify, mostly for financial hardships that families go through, evictions, house fires, domestic violence, things of that nature that result in loss of homes. We also have groups of either families or children that find themselves in need. And we also, as a district, do a good job of supporting those kiddos that find themselves in need. And services that we provide vary from food to clothing to transit bus passes for high school kids that may be living out of town. They have no other way to get here, so we'll get bus transit to get to school. Are you guys, most of you I think might be familiar with Heather's Pantry. So that's another way in which we support kids and providing them with food as they need it. We have a pantry down at the elementary school that services K-8. We have another one at the high school. Any questions?
Is the pantry needing some infusion?
I currently have it pretty well stocked at the moment, but I'll keep you updated if we find there's something.
I know lots of people that like to help when they
Yeah,
can.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Bernardo, just to make sure I get my date and time correct, Saturday, the 26th, 12 to 1:30 for 21st Century
In
Outreach,
the NPR, it'll be family engagement. event.
family engagement. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Adamson.
Good evening, everybody. Don't have a lot to share, but I'll just hit a couple highlights. Transportation, bus inspections will be the 28th through the WSP, so Troy's got our fleet in tip-top shape, so we shouldn't have any issues there. The state did fully fund transportation, so that was nice. And actually, we did have a little small increase, which will help offset fuel prices. So we just ordered fuel in the other day and substantially higher bill than what we normally pay, but I think everybody's feeling the pain on that. So, and then I inquired about our lead times and costs for buses, and hopefully once we settle in, we'll have some financial discussions and determine, you know, how we move forward with the buses. And we've got 6 buses right now that's in our fleet that we aren't getting depreciation all of them. So normally we would like to, you know, keep that, you know, a revolving door when they come out of our fleet to you know, replace them. But honestly, that just, you know, it is just shows you what a good job our mechanics do for us. So, I mean, our parts, everything has been real minimal over the last several years. So we've got a good team. Custodians, obviously, we know we're back to lunch tables in the cafeteria. That's a plus. I think everybody's kind of liking getting a little closer to normal. We still got a little bit of an odd shift, but we won't make a change until we know that this is fully behind us. And then we're prepping for spring break. So we'll get in the schools and prioritize some things that we want to see get done, and look forward to that week to get some of that stuff done. Maintenance, thanks to Wade, we got that emergency improvement grant, and we're already moved forward with some of the guys who quoted that stuff for us to make sure that we have equipment in place. Probably with the lead times, we're probably immediately after school's out, we'll really dig into that. If there's a fire panel or something that we can replace in the off time and not affect our safety, safety system, obviously we'll do that. Grounds, field preps are done for all the high school, most all the middle school's done. We'll mow the soccer field down. Chemicals, fertilizers up, but we were fortunate that we fertilized last fall. So availability and expense on the chemical side, and honestly, we see it on the paint side and stuff. We're affected, but obviously we'll implement a feasible plan in order to keep the district looking respectable and move forward and get through the hump. So anyway, that's kind of just a brief rundown. A few things I've got going on. Any questions?
Any showstoppers or?
No. No. Yeah, that's all. So just keep forging ahead and take it one day at a time. So. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Mr. Rodriguez.
How are you zooming the meeting and being in here at the same time?
Many times.
Amazing work.
So big thing for us right now, we're going through the interview process. As some of you may know, we lost our application support analyst last month. When it comes to the way the department's configured, taking software down is kind of a big hit for us, but we're really excited. We got some good candidates. We have 2 interviews on Thursday, and then 2 interviews on Monday. And hopefully we'll pull the trigger soon and get them on board. With that, we have finally received our access points from last year. We literally had to reorder them completely. So that was part of the E-rate bid from the 2020. So what we're going to be doing is start to program the access points, and just for Mr. Adams, who doesn't know what access points are, they're the one what gives off wireless access to internet. So we'll be upgrading our internet for the district. We're still working on iVisions, as I mentioned previously. We are moving to the employee portal, and we are having some issues with specific users getting them on board. Working through that process, and that's going decently well. A few things I wanted to touch about, I know Mr. Peterson will be talking on his inventory, Power School. Power School's been going great from the IT perspective. They really do walk us through it all, so it's pretty nice. It's not as big of a hit losing our application support analysts right now because they're so willing to support and configure the majority of it for us. So that's been awesome. And then also inventory, we've been using our part-time technician, Jared Elliott, as an inventory. We've been having, if he has any free time, he's running around and just trying to get tags and trying to get us a decent list for us. So with that last thing is tech committee. We've had 2 meetings since January. They've been going fairly well. We've got a lot of positive response to Power School. We've actually been able to give them the portal for professional development, and they really hit the ground running with that. So we have at least, including about 10 teachers, we have almost a counselor from every school, some principals. I believe Mr. Peterson's in there as well. We're all starting to dive into the material, so that way we get ahead of that. And lastly, yeah, we were actually able to get them, all the teachers in the tech committee, hands-on with the Clever SSO, that's single sign-on. So next year, we'll be able to actually deploy this to all the students. So single sign-on is where the student will log into this one area and they will log on to everything else. It'll be somewhat of a password keeper, but also integrated with Power Schools and all that good stuff. So kids being able to use software quickly next year is going to be improved. So. Any other questions? Any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Hahn.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm just gonna hit on Mr. Adamson's original repair grant that we got. It's a $200,000 grant that was a competitive grant, and we'll be able to repair our fire suppression system with those funds. And I gotta give credit to Mr. Whitman for helping me out with that. And Heidi assisted with a letter to OSPI because I happen to know. Completed the civil rights data collection prior to the end of February. I think I submitted around February 11th, so that's completed. Was looking into our poverty percentages, which affects our funding for next year. First kindergarten and first grade were pretty low, and so I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I got that issue fixed. So we should be seeing improved numbers by tomorrow. Like again, those numbers are for lab title funding stuff. So also applied for another grant called the ESSER Attendance and Reengagement Grant. And we'll be working with the ESD to, use those funds to help with attendance and re-engagement of students that may have been affected from COVID. On Wednesday, I'm starting the para-education training. I did it in the fall, and I have to do an additional 4 hours of training for the paras. So start that this Wednesday. We'll do an hour every Wednesday until we're finished with that. And other than that, I'm just looking forward to the end of the school year and next year. And, get a budget together for Drew and the district. Move forward from there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Wade.
All right, Mr. Baba.
Hello. Okay, I think you got my little handout. So for our micro program, we're going to start putting together some homework toolkits for our students. It's about the time when the pencils are about that big and the crayons are no more, so we're going to resupply the kiddos. I've started to work on the summer migrant summer school program grant, and those funds, it's not as much as we usually get. We usually get between 40 and 70,000. Right now it's designated at about 25, and that's because we have so much carryover from last year. So we'll be fine with the 25. If I need more, I can get more, but I think we're good. So we're going to focus on our past program for our high school. We're checking, I think tomorrow is the deadline for our high school students to apply for a summer tri-tech program. And so depending on how many students we have, we're able to support the transportation. So that'll all depend on the numbers that we get to see how many students have registered for that program. But it's a great opportunity for 8th grade students who are going into 9th grade, and then our 9th grade students who typically haven't yet had the opportunity to go to Tri-Tech. And they can earn a half a credit during that summer program. Our ESD 123 is going to have 2 programs for migrant students. Our part of it would be to pay the transportation. So one is a 2-week program on robotics for, I believe it's 5th through 6th grade students. And the other is a high school health education program for grades incoming 9th grade to 12th grade. So that program is just 1 week. The middle school one is for 2 weeks. And so again, our part would be the transportation. So we're working right now to hopefully have at least 10 of our middle school students attend the robotics one and 10 attend the high school one, because there's only 50 slots for ESD 123. So it would be a great opportunity for any of our students to be able to participate. Right now, we're coordinating some college tech school site visits for our high school students for the spring. And in talking with other directors, I want to be more purposeful in how we're coordinating those trips throughout the year. We do have a Gear Up program, so I'm hoping to coordinate with that Gear Up director to see if we can do some split funding for transportation and for sign up. So that way we can include all of our high school students and parents who want to attend some college visits. So my thinking is that we would designate either some Saturdays, possibly 3 throughout the school year. We'll coordinate with the schools which ones we're going to, and then parents and students would have an opportunity to sign up for that Saturday. We can work with the counselors can help us sign up students, and then also possibly CTE if we go to vocational programs, and then our universities, our current colleges. But we're going to continue how we've been doing it. We're probably gonna, right now for the end of this year, plan a trip to Eastern and to WSU. For our bilingual program, we have Jennifer Calgill, our consultant, continuing to work with our middle school or with our secondary group. She does PD usually on Wednesdays for an hour, and we've had that scheduled throughout the whole school year. For our elementary, we do longer PD from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Wednesdays, and she's working through a curriculum that's called Thinking Maps. And we have training scheduled for March 30th for her with that. Our district dual language framework, last time I met with you, I shared we got the grant. We were excited to get it started, and we've gotten it started. People informed. Our admin, she met with our admin, she met with Pete and I, and Julie was able to support us as a board rep. I don't know if you want to share anything about that.
Sure, I can. Well, I'll save it for my board comment.
Okay, that's good. So our next step is each building is getting their building teams together, and our hope is that we have our first meeting scheduled this last week in March prior to spring break, and then we'll schedule our meetings with the team that we have from there. And we have a consultant hired. We received a $93,000 grant for 2 years. And Catherine Harrison is our consultant that we're using to lead our district through that work of developing a preschool through 12th grade dual language framework. For special ed, we're continuing to work on inclusion. We're part of a WASA district inclusion grant. This is our 3rd year that our district's participated. And we actually have a district team meeting on Wednesday via Zoom. And this year, our final district team meeting will be in Seattle, an in-person meeting in May. So that will be nice for us to be able to meet in person with Jennifer Novak, who is a national speaker on inclusion and universal design for learning. We have signed a contract with a board certified behavior analyst. A BCBA is a therapist that's used often in school districts to support students with behavior. And most often with students with autism who have severe behaviors because of all of the sensitivities that they have, they get very frustrated. And so she's going to observe some of our students in our life skills class. And we have a couple other students that have behavior as is really getting in the way of their education progress. So she's going to be working with those students as well. So we've sent a letter out to the parents, letting them know about this opportunity and that there'll be observations and that they'll be included in the development of the plan, a behavior plan. And it's going to happen through teletherapy, but the teacher and or para will be there to support the student. She's there as much for the students as she is for the teacher and paras in terms of strategies for them. So I'm really excited that we're able to have this person on board, and hopefully she'll be starting next week. 20 hours a week is what we signed a contract for. Something I did not put on there was Columbia Industries. We just signed a contract as well for Columbia Industries. Columbia Industries is an outside agency in the Tri-Cities that supports our students with severe or more severe disabilities and impacts them when they transition from school back to home. So we're wanting to give them some transition skills. And so we're hoping that 3 of our students, 2 of them will be aging out. That means that they're turning 21. They've been with us, most of them since preschool. And so we're hoping we give them that opportunity this last few months of school. And then we're hopefully, I think one student, she still has 2 or 3 more years, but we're going to go ahead and get her started this year as well. And then next year, we'll probably do 2 or 3 students total working with them. So we're excited about that opportunity for those students. And then speaking of family engagement, I initially had wanted to do a family engagement math night with migrant and bilingual programs. We're required to do family engagement and literacy and math. And I was hoping to do it sooner, but it didn't work out that way. It's important that those family engagement opportunities be in connection with the elementary. And so we're pushing it to April. Tentatively right now it's scheduled for April 24th, but it's going to be a math night. Our ESD professional development team over there is coordinating the activities. So it's going to be a make and take math night in English and in Spanish for our parents, and math games with cards and with dice, and parents will get to take those activities home with them, parents and students.
Does elementary mean all the way to 5th grade? Or?
Yes, initially I was going to do the whole K-5, but I think we're going to focus, we'll have 2, one for K2 preschool through 2nd grade, and then 1 for 3-5, and that way parents really feel they get some quality grouping time for PD.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll move on to unfinished business. Starting with the Power School update.
Yeah, well, thanks for David getting that info out there. You kind of stole some of my thunder, but that's okay. So just a quick update on Power School. The one thing I would say David did catch a very good snapshot of is we have a lot of folks who are really stoked about moving to Power School. Clay Henry approached me and he has a large number of high school teachers who want access right now. So I replied that we'd have to get him set up first, his entire school set up first. So we're actually, as I told the board in a previous meeting, we've been setting up a school at a time. We're meeting weekly with our Power School rep. His name is Brian Mueller. He's back in Indiana, but we meet for a couple hours every week. Tomorrow we meet and it's the high school setup. So that will be at a very basic level, meaning something quite frankly, our principals don't necessarily, they aren't going to perform those duties and that task on a yearly basis, but I felt it was important since we're starting with a new system, they need to see it from the ground up. So, you know, if David hits the lottery, then, you know, about August 20th, that we can still go in there and get each of our schools set up and have a lot of people who are back trained to do that. So he's correct also in the tech committee is really excited about this. When you're on our side, on the administrator side, and you log in and you can see everyone, you know, everyone's at their own place in the trainings, but they're all doing it on their own time. So that's really encouraging to see. So as I said, tomorrow is the high school. And then we get more into the tech side of things, the real tech side of things, when we start talking about securities and levels of securities, levels of access for varying groups of personnel. I think that one's coming up the last week of March, maybe the first week of April. So these things, we're really starting to get to the down and dirty of soon. We'll have the district configured. And then once we do a download from Cumulative of all of our staff, all of our students, all of our demographics data, will be a huge file. But once we download that, we will upload that into Power School. I mean, I'm anticipating by last week of April, being able to log into what we call Sandbox, which is a carbon copy of the real Power School that we'll be using, but we should be able to give people access to that so they can literally log in and see their classes as if they were in Power School, without any danger of pressing a submit button or a save and having it wipe out something. So that's pretty exciting. And as much as I wanted, and I know David and Tori at the time, everybody was really pushing to get this going last year. But seeing this process in action, I am absolutely convinced that we did the right thing, pushing it out a year to get the level of thoroughness done that we're going through, because I've never sat in as many tech meetings and had them keep my attention for as long as they have. So they've been very well done. So I have no doubts, once this thing goes live, we're going to be in very good shape. Once we do get it set up, we'll have David or one of the principals or someone come in and do a demonstration so you can see the actual what a parent view would be like and the ease of use. Quite frankly, there's just no comparison. It's going to be a very good deal for us.
So it'll probably be next fall before parents have access.
Yeah, because obviously, you know, I mean, a parent could go in there and look, but it wouldn't tell them much. You know, obviously, one of the things that we're going to be able to do, and I'm not sure what the time frame is that we'll turn this on, but there is a registration software or a registration component to the software. So when a parent comes in, we won't have to necessarily hand them a stack of paperwork and ask that you fill that out and we can direct them to a kiosk in each of our offices and they can simply sign in and start the enrollment process electronically. It's gonna be a time saver for some folks, where we don't have to do so much initial data input. It's just going to be making sure that everything is correct in the formats that we need once it's in there. So I think parents are going to love it. The people that I know that are parents, and I think there are even some in this room who have kids in schools where Power School exists. They get text messages on their phones. They get alerts when their students are absent or tardy to a class if they're a secondary student. It's real-time information and very easy. So I can't wait. Trust me, if you can say that I've sat through a total combined 10 hours of tech training, it's got to be pretty good. So anyway, that's my update.
Any questions? Nope, nope. All right, well, we'll move on to asset inventory. Next on the list.
Yeah, thank you. Asset inventory, and by the way, I saw Kylie come in. So this is where we've put your answer to the question that you asked earlier. So as far as our asset inventory, I have to admit that when I was able to debrief a little bit with David today, he's much farther along than I thought he was going to be. All of the schools, for the most part, the individual classrooms, they've been inventory. IT people have gone through and done the initial, which are the things that are probably the easiest part. We know the computer and the printer, those are ours. And I think where the next phase is really going to come in is we're going to provide that master list to staff probably right after spring break, because then there may be items that were purchased and possibly reimbursed through the district. So we weren't quite sure if it was ours or whether it goes on the asset list. So our initial phasing is going to be done before spring break. And then teachers will be able to see a list of items that we have cataloged within their individual classrooms. Then they can get some assistance in putting down the things that they have added themselves or that were maybe transferred that we didn't know about, things like that. So quite frankly, I expected David to be telling me that, okay, well, by the 1st of May, we should be good to go. And no, we're going to have that stuff ready right after spring break. So we're well ahead. Following the delivery of the initial inventory, I plan on bringing some examples of that, of what a classroom teacher would see, what a district office administrator would see when we're talking about their offices. Let you see some examples of that. And then, of course, we'll review the whole kit and caboodle once we get the final done before the end of the year for teachers as part of their checkout, and then spend some of the summer updating that list, removing any items that we need to send to surplus. And then, quite frankly, when August hits, we should have a very clean, complete inventory of all items in the district that meet those criteria. So I'm really very pleased with where David and his team are with that, especially, given the fact we're down a person right now, but they jumped into it and very happy. So along with that, because this kind of falls in there, of course, we are exploring always the opportunity to purchase new assets. And so just as far as an update goes, as far as our microwaves go, I instructed Jennifer to go ahead and use her best judgment and get 5, not industrial strength, but obviously not your Walmart special microwaves, to go ahead and talk to our distributors, get those ordered. And then once we get them and get the specifications for each unit, of course, it's going to take a bit of time to get here. But I know Mr. Adamson is making plans to take a look at the electrical and any special electrical needs that we're going to need to, not plug them all into the same socket, but to get those up and running. The thing then that I asked Jennifer to do, though, is that should give us a total of 6 for the NPR. And then to just monitor for about a week, see how the usage is. If we're still seeing a backup at that time, she doesn't even have to ask me. She can just go ahead and order enough for us to get that number down. Because the last thing we want to do, given the fact that we're giving kids 25 minutes for lunch now, is waiting in line for 15 minutes to be able to heat up their cup of soup, and that's not the intent. So we'll find a happy medium. We can always add. It's always tough to send them back after a month, though. So we'll do it judiciously, but hopefully after spring break, we should see some new microwaves in there.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Clayton.
That's what I have. Okay,
I just wanted to say thank you to David and to your team for all the work. I know our IT department is small and you guys handle so much. And thank you for taking on that asset inventory this year. Really appreciate it.
all right, well, we'll move on to workshop discussion. We had a workshop, and so we're looking forward to another one. I guess our basis is, when do we want to do it, and what works best for everybody, and how soon, and who do we want to include? So my proposal is maybe an hour before the meeting, if we can do that. If we can't, maybe we can, move the meeting to 7 and come in at 6, or we could come in at 5:30 and work till 6:30. That's just,
Meeting on the 28th.
well, yeah.
Okay.
Want to do it right away, right?
Yeah, sure. It's probably, I can, my hours are flexible. It's like anytime.
I can make that work.
Everybody agree, or do we want to do that then? 5:30 on the 28th,
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So we'll start off with that. That means we'll be having a workshop meeting. It's open to the public, of course. But there won't be any business taking place. Everything will be discussions and education, basically.
And what I can do, Mr. Thornton, is we can meet, and I can get an email out to everybody for any specific topics of discussion. I got the feeling from our, at the end of Friday's meeting, it really kind of needs to be a debrief and a continuation of the same type of topics. So no problem there. And then moving forward, I think it's always a good idea. We want to know exactly what we're meeting for. We don't want to meet just to meet.
No.
Have specific goals in mind, so we can work through those, but I'll work with Darcy. I do have the PowerPoint for you, so I'll get that out to you tonight. And then you can take a look at any spot items that we want to try and refocus on. I know Darcy won't be at each one, but he and I can have some conversations about specific points that you bring up. So I want to say I thought it was as good a work session as the board has had during my time here in 4 years. I mean, it was to the point. Yes, it was 2 hours, but I mean, it flew by. And I think we probably could have sat here for another 2 hours if Darcy would have had more slides, but I do want to say, I thought having Mr. Garchow here, even though it was just for 5 minutes or so, when I contacted him, I quite frankly thought it was going to be more of a, hey, Tim, we're gonna have a meeting, and if I know you're in the area, and if you can come by and have him opt out, but I really did appreciate that. I'm going to send him a card on behalf of the board, let him know that we appreciated it, and he had very positive things when he talked to Darcy about it later. So all in all, it was one of those meetings where I had a good time. I was coming out of it and thinking, gosh, we could keep going, but it was also like drinking out of a fire hose, I think, especially for our 2 newest members to some degree. So look forward to continuing that though on the 28th.
And he sent you that PowerPoint this evening?
Yeah, that's the one I said I'm going to send out to you all tonight.
Okay. So it's settled. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we'll learn some more. All right, then we'll move on to board comments.
Well, I'll just say, I really enjoyed our meeting with Catherine Harrison, right? And this is Zavala. I am very excited to get the dual language program up and running again. As I sat through that meeting, I just got really excited. It was really good for me to kind of get back into why I joined this board in the first place, which, I'm just really excited about the dual language program. One thing that really stood out to me was when Catherine said that it's the only program that has been shown to close achievement gaps. And then just the idea of shifting the mindset of looking at our English language learners as assets in our community and using a dual language program to kind of empower our Spanish speakers, bring those into the classroom and make sure that they are welcome in our schools and feel kind of fulfilled, hopefully, in some roles that support our kids. So really appreciate the principals and their time. They're looking to form some committees to get some more input as we get this back rolling again. So thank you. It was exciting.
I think it's exciting because a lot of the English speakers learn Spanish. And so it just makes the whole class stronger, you know, as a group, as they go forward. So it only helps. I'm hoping we can really hit it hard and make it work.
Well,
Well, the only comment I had was, I know as far as the information, how does it get out to the kids as far as like the math night? Is that something that goes out to with each kid, or is that something that's?
What we do, well, what we usually, we do the flyers. So we send the flyers with all the kids. We here, because my program's migrant and bilingual, we make sure to do the robocalls in Spanish to all our Spanish speaking families to get them out. And so that's why it's so important for me to connect with the elementary principals so that we can say, okay, are we going to send it the robocalls to all the parents? We get the best attendance when we do that. When we send one, we've had a couple of events, not as big as a family engagement night. We get at the high school, we had some for financial aid and for those kinds of things, college prep. And we probably had 95% of our migrant student parents there because we made those calls. And so that's really the best way, I believe, to communicate to parents is those robocalls. And then, of course, ensuring that one's in Spanish and one's in English. And we don't want to get bogged down with a big, long English message, Spanish message in one. So Pete already had us work to get our list so we know who our Spanish-speaking families are. So they're getting their message in Spanish and our English-speaking families are getting theirs in English. So usually it's a flyer with kids, the robocall, and then, of course, we have some time till April. We can put it out on our reaper boards that cars drive by. And that's why I'm thinking, because now there's no mask. People are a little bit more excited to be out and about, that we'll probably need to do a pre-K through second grade evening and then a 3-5. And the ESD is already prepared with all the math activities and games, and we'll invite teachers to be there to support their students that attend. And I'm sure Chris and I will be there.
We'll talk it up a lot at school too.
Yeah.
Get them excited about coming, so.
And then we'll do the same thing with the literacy.
That's amazing.
Last year before COVID, the literacy night was our last event, right? It was like 3 days before we shut down. And oh my gosh, it was a K-5 thing. We had probably over 200 people there. It was crazy. So it was fun, but it was a lot. And so I think we need to divide.
We're also, Mr. Gonzalez, we're also in the process of finalizing our spring newsletter to the community, and in those, that's the perfect type of thing that we would include in that as well. Of course, that's in English and Spanish and goes to every household in the community. So it'll be a nice, not quite as personal, but it'll get around.
Oh, and also we have parent conferences happening at the end of March. So our plan is to have those flyers there for that one-to-one combo when parents come at the elementary for conferences. Yeah.
Well, I was able to join the reading curriculum committee last week as they parsed through an impressive amount of material. So thank you for arranging that. Thank you for letting me join. It was interesting to hear some of the conversations happening as they reviewed all the different options we have. It's stacks and stacks of material that they're going through. So I look forward to being able to join more of those meetings in the future and observing that process. Thank you.
I'm just happy as can be. See no mask.
Absolutely.
Just love it. Okay, well then, I guess that concludes our meeting for this evening. We're going to go into an executive session for personnel issues according to the RCW. No,
I don't have anything.
oh, I thought we did. Okay. So then we are adjourned.
We're adjourned. Yeah.
All right, thank you very
I
much.
think,
We left it on the agenda. I think we have
I think we
to.
have to.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go into our executive session for 5 minutes.
We're up to 30 minutes.